Hi there, Nathan Patrick Taylor here, and I've got another video in the series that I'm doing on some, I guess I'll call it motivation maybe, or some career advice. I've only really done one before, and that was about getting stuff done. And I'm really, I don't know, just sort of excited about this sort of series. It's a departure from what I normally do, covering Alteryx and Power BI, but I think it's important as my career progresses and other folks share their stories with me that I share some of what has been helpful and successful to me. So with that in mind, whenever a theme comes along and it repeats itself in my life over and over again, I try and pay attention to that. It's usually the universe telling me something. And so today I have these thoughts on this quote, "No small parts, only small actors." And when I mention the universe telling me something, I'm reminded of the book The Alchemist. In fact, I just read it recently, and most people know the quote from it. Very famous quote is, "When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." And that's a very prominent quote from the book. But there's this other part to it that I really liked that ties into that no small parts. And that's the second quote here: "No matter how you feel today, get up, dress up, and show up." And that, as you read the book, as you read the story, and you're exposed to this concept of your personal legend and discovering what that is in your life, it becomes apparent that there are times in your life when you will encounter those small parts, those bit players. And so I, of course, went back. I'm not obviously an actor myself, and so this sort of analogy doesn't really fit in my career, but it sort of does in the way that you will encounter these small roles or these bit parts from time to time. And so I relay this story to what you'll read on Wikipedia. And I thought it was interesting that there happened to be an actor there that I knew from a different story. And that actor's name was Jack Albertson, and he was in Miracle on 34th Street. And he had what would be considered a bit part. He played the role of the postal worker who decided to redirect all of the mail that was going to Santa Claus. Now, it was a very small role. In fact, it was unaccredited for a long time, but it's actually a really important and pivotal character in the story. Now, if the name Jack Albertson rings a bell to you, it's because he was Papa Joe in the Willy Wonka movie, which I also really like. So why do I mention that? I say that there's times in my life where I've had bit parts, I'll say, these small roles that ended up being a big deal. And one time in particular, when I was working as just a very basic routine data analyst. In fact, the company I was at the time, I had only been there 3 months. I think I started in September, late September, early October. And over the Christmas and then into New Year's holiday, I was one of the only people in the office during that time. And we had a huge product rollout that was taking place on January 1st. Now, most of the work, actually I should say all of the work, was done. There was really not much for anybody to do. This was back when we were still burning CDs and not downloading software on the internet. So it was all done, ready to go. The product was basically sitting in CD slips ready to be shipped. And I'll never forget the director of the project came down to me and said that they needed this change to be made. If they didn't change it, it was going to be a colossal disaster, and they needed somebody who could just change this one line of code. And I was very hesitant to do it because this wasn't my project. I knew who was involved in it, and it was a almost year-long effort to get this particular piece of software rolled out. And so I really didn't want to do it. And I thought about it, and I said, well, I sort of have an opportunity to step up here and make something right, and I decided to do it. Now, after that, made the change. Thankfully, kept my fingers crossed. Everything went well, and it was one of the most successful product launches that the company had ever had. And they relayed that story to me that I had somehow saved the day. Now, I reminded them humbly that I was just one person that happened to be there at the right time. right? And happened to be in that room when I got asked. But that part ended up leading to a much bigger role several months later. And so reflecting on that, it blows my mind how big of a deal some of those small parts can be. Conversely, I've been on massive projects and had major roles where it was just okay. Things went the way they were supposed to go, and there was no real accolades or kudos coming from some of that. But those bit parts made a big deal. So why do I tell you this? I want you, and I hope you can find those times and those moments in your career, in your life, where those bit roles, those bit players show up, and you can sort of seize the moment and take advantage of that. So that's my story. That's my maybe motivation for today, I guess, and I'll let you go after it. Thanks.